Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I'm doing a little bit of a different video. Instead of Dollar Tree DIYs, I am actually going to be sharing some thrift flips with you. It's been about a year since my last video where I DIY'd some items I picked up at the thrift store, so it was due time that I make another video. To start off, I really wanted to make a tray for my upcoming bridal shower this summer, but I didn't want to pay the price that I have seen at stores like HomeGoods for a tray. So I hit up my local thrift store and I found this picture frame for $6.99, but the day that I went on is a Tuesday and that is half off day. So I got this for half off, which was a pretty good price because this frame and the glass are very sturdy and high quality. Even when I flipped it over, I saw that it was covered in a backing, so I had to tear that out. The only slightly difficult part is the picture was stapled in, so I ended up getting a flathead screwdriver and just bending the staples so that I was able to ease the picture and glass out. That was really the only hard part of this DIY. Everything else was pretty simple. Next, I did take the glass out. Again, a little bit difficult with having to maneuver around those staples, but once I had the glass out, I went ahead and cleaned it to get that sticker off and just to get all the dust and whatnot off of it from the thrift store. Next, I went in with my favorite white paint. It is a chalk paint by Waverly, just in the shade white, and I went all the way around the frame. I did take a smaller paintbrush to stipple around the areas where there was texture on the inside of the frame, and I ended up doing about 2 coats of this, and then I let that dry. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. I post my DIYs while I'm in the process of them. I interact with all of you, ask you questions on what kind of videos that you want to see in the future, and share with you all of my crafts before the videos come out. So make sure to follow RebeccaVirginiaDIY on Instagram. To embellish this tray, I used silver handles that I actually already had. We had thrown out some old cabinets, but I kept the hardware. Let me know in the comments down below, are you like me and it's hard to throw away things that you think you can craft with someday? It's even worse when I actually do craft with the items because it just reinforces to me that I need to keep certain items. So let me know if that is also you. So I saved those silver handles and used some E6000 glue to glue them down. I used some faux shiplap scrapbooking paper for the base of this tray, and I ended up using a glue stick to adhere that down onto the image that was already on the tray. But the great thing is, for different seasons, you can change them out, change out the image. I think for my bridal shower, I'll probably do something with some florals on the bottom or maybe some pinks and reds. Not really sure yet, but the really nice thing is you don't have to glue down the paper. You could just lay it down or maybe add a little bit of tape in the 4 corners, and that way you could change this into an interchangeable DIY that you can swap out different images for as the seasons and holidays go on. The last step was just sliding in our glass and then my scrapbooking paper into the tray, and it was complete. I think for my bridal shower, I'm gonna end up putting maybe some little cookies or desserts on this tray, but it also works for a tea tray. Let me know in the comments down below what you would use this for and if you have ever DIY'd your own tray. The next craft, I know that Easter is this Sunday, so it's a little late for Easter crafts, but I couldn't pass it up when I saw it in my thrift store. I got this for only $1. What an amazing deal. Again, try to figure out if your local thrift store has any special sales or days of the week where they, maybe run some different sales, because that's when I think you can really get the good deals. This one I would call half of a thrift flip because I'm not really changing it all that much, just adding a couple different embellishments onto it. Around the bottom, I wanted to add some color, and I had this pink plaid washi tape. So I placed that into the bottom and just wrapped that all the way around. I also wasn't entirely sure what this was. I thought that it was an egg holder at first. I didn't have any actual eggs in my fridge to try it out on, but I did have some eggs that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. These were in the Crafters Square section, and I think they are so nice. They're supposed to be hanging eggs, and I just found them this week. I have not seen anyone else haul them on Instagram. So let me know in the comments, have you seen these eggs? Because they're really, really pretty. And they did not fit. Now granted, they are fake eggs, not real eggs, so possibly real eggs would fit. But K-cups for coffee and tea fit perfectly. So you could also have put some K-cups in here. Maybe I'll do that in the back because I did run out of eggs. But to just make sure that the eggs stayed in place, I added a little bit of tape on the back so that they wouldn't move around. My favorite way to make smaller bows is using a fork. You will take a piece of ribbon and kind of put it across the fork in that V formation that I showed at the beginning of this clip. Then you're going to take the piece of ribbon that's on top and thread it through that middle prong of the fork, pull it over and tie, and you are going to have a really little dainty bow that my fingers alone definitely would not be able to create. So that's why making a fork bow comes in so handy. Then you can just slide it right off the fork and cut down your tails to size, and you have the perfect tiny little bow. I didn't want to break out my hot glue gun for this DIY, so instead I went with my little glue dots that you can pick up in the Crafter Square section and just added that on so that it would hold the bow in place. Again, this is not a giant change of a thrift flip, but just kind of enhancing it a little bit more by adding some fun embellishments. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think this is? Is it meant to hold K-cups or was it meant to hold eggs? I used to love making fairy jars as a kid. It was one of my favorite things that my mom and I did. So I wanted to recreate that memory and make some thrifted fairy jars of my own. First, you got to start off with your fairy. I did make this using my cutting machine, but in the past, I will link down below my leprechaun jar video. I just cut out an image. You can Google search silhouette of fairy or silhouette of leprechaun, and then once you print that out, you will just cut it and adhere it with Mod Podge. In the past, I have another fairy jar that I'll show you at the end, as well as my leprechaun jar. I'll pop him up right now. And I didn't use my cutting machine or vinyl on that one. I just cut out an image on Google and Mod Podged that in. Next, I have seen lots of people do different techniques when it comes to fairy jars. Some of them just immediately go in with the glitter, but I like to add a layer of white tissue paper. I think it gives a nice opaque look, and I actually like the wrinkles that kind of form in the tissue paper. I just think it makes it look kind of more distressed and rustic and something that a fairy would actually be living in. I don't know. I don't think that they would live in a perfect jar. I think their jar would be messy with all the little woodland treasures that they bring in. I don't know. That's where that's where my mind goes. Then once you lay your white tissue paper on, you're going to go over it with one more layer of Mod Podge. And here's the fun part. This is when you get to add your glitter. You can use as much or as little as you like. I'm using some white glitter from Dollar Tree, but you could go in there with some colored glitter, some gold to look like pixie dust, or maybe some blue. Really have fun with decorating your jar. My other fairy jar, which again, I already mentioned it, but I am going to show it at the end of the video. I made very woodland. I put leaves on all around. So this one, I wanted more of that distressed kind of rustic look. So I'm going around it with some nautical rope that, of course, I got from Dollar Tree. And then I also had these wood cutouts of butterflies. I've had them for about a year. Picked them up in the Crafter Square section and wasn't sure what I was going to use them with, but my silhouette of the fairy, she is kind of holding or touching her hand out to a butterfly, so I thought this would be the perfect tie-in. I placed some jute around the wood cutout of the butterfly, just threaded it through, and then tied it in the back into place. How cute is my puppy? He's always so curious on what I'm crafting, so I had to include that blooper in the video too. Also, I forgot to mention it earlier, but these were Yankee Candle jars and they were $1 at my thrift store. Those are all of my new thrift flips. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy these type of videos. I didn't want to pick up too many items in case it wasn't something you guys were interested in watching, but I did want to include some thrift flips that I did last year. First one is this piece of wall decor. I really liked it, but wanted to give it more of that farmhouse chic kind of look. So I am going over the entire thing in some white paint. You can't even really tell in the camera, but this is a really big piece of metal decor. I thought the design was really cool and that it would look very pretty in my bedroom on a wall. But this is definitely a darker piece and I wanted to lighten it up and make it more of the farmhouse style. So I'm going in with my Waverly chalk paint in the color white and I am just painting the entire piece of metal decor. After I had painted this entire piece in the white paint, I ended up doing 2 coats because I wanted it to be pretty thick. I did go in with brown paint. It's the burnt umber color from Apple Barrel, and just dirtied up the sign to make it look more farmhouse. My walls are white, and I wanted you to actually be able to see this on the wall, so that's why I'm using the brown paint to distress it. I think I also could have just sanded and maybe some of that original metal color would have shown through, but I was a little nervous to start sanding things, and I knew that I have done this distressing technique many times and I really like it. So I just went with what I knew. And that was really all that I did to this piece. I just added some paint. I thought it was really beautiful and just needed a bit of updating. I didn't like the original super dark brown color, so I just went in with some paint and it was really cool to see how easily you can transform something for $2.99. My next item that I thrift flipped was something that I found in the decor section and thought I could transform into a piece of decor for the kitchen. So this item, like I said earlier, I found it in the general decor section of my thrift store for $2.99, which I thought was a little expensive, but like I said, my thrift store has special deals according to the color of labels, and this one was 40% off. So with that discount, I thought it was a pretty good deal, and I wanted something cute to put in my new kitchen. And all that I'm doing is taking that white Waverly chalk paint yet again and covering the entire decor piece. I also did a very thorough cleaning of this because it was pretty dirty on the inside. You definitely want to clean your items when you get them back from the thrift store. And after I had cleaned it and it dried, then I went ahead in with 2 coats of this white paint. Once this item was dry, I made a cute decal with my cutting machine and placed it onto our decor piece. However, I don't know if you've seen them, but the Dollar Tree has super cute farmhouse stickers out right now. I will place a pop-up if I can find a picture online. I haven't been able to find them yet, but I think they're adorable and would have been a great replacement for the vinyl decal. Next is definitely the largest piece of decor that I have made in a while, and all that I had to do was pick up a wood round from Lowe's. I made this cute piece of deck furniture using, I'm not sure if it was a plant stand or maybe an end table that missed its top, but this is what I found at the thrift store and what I picked up, and I decided, okay, I think this maybe used to be a table and I'm gonna turn it back into a table. So I picked up one of the unfinished wood rounds from Lowe's, and I just took some stain that I had in my garage. I think we used it on the deck once, and I just took a microfiber cloth that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I started to stain this entire wood round. I did about 3 coats of stain. I wanted it to be a darker wood finish, so I ended up doing, I think it was 3 coats, and always make sure to get the actual round pieces as well. You want to make sure that you do not miss those spots. I let my wood round dry for 24 hours, and then it was an 18-inch wood round, so I knew 9 inches would be center. And then from the center point, I measured, I believe, 2.5 inches below center, and then I went back in and did 2.5 inches above center also. And when I marked the 2.5 inches, I went in with my blue painter's tape and just taped off the section, kind of using my ruler to go along. I have a tendency to not always put down my painter's tape in the straightest of lines, so I tried to use the ruler to somewhat help me, and also make sure that you get the tape on the sides of the wood round as well. And I did the exact same thing with the upper section. Whoops, there you can see my really fun new glasses. But I went ahead and measured out 2.5 inches above so that in total we have a 5-inch strip that we're going to be painting. And make sure you really press down that painter's tape because you don't want any paint leaking through. I originally was going to paint this stripe white and use some black vinyl for the lettering, but I could not find my black vinyl anywhere, so I ended up just painting the stripe black, and then in just a second we're going to go in with some white vinyl. Again, don't forget to paint the edges or the sides of your round, and I just had to include this part because it's always so satisfying to see the painter's tape pull away and you have a really nice clean line left. As the final decoration on our wood round table, I took some white vinyl and wrote "Welcome to our deck" onto our wood round. To make sure the wood round stayed in place, I went ahead and took 2 screws and my power drill and just drilled the wood round into the metal base. The last item that I made over from the thrift store is this formerly broken lantern. Here's how I did it. I found this really cute faux candle lantern at the thrift store and was not planning on DIYing this at all. However, when I took it home, I realized why maybe such a really pretty lantern was at the thrift store, and that is because when I tried to replace it with batteries, it would not work. I'm not sure if it was the light bulb or what was going on in here, but I tried to be a little electrician and fix it, and I could not. No matter what batteries I used or if I changed the light bulb, I could not get this thing to light up. But I wasn't going to let my money go to waste, so I decided, okay, we can DIY this. So I took out all of the screws and took the candle out of its dark base. So my plan was to use these really cute fairy lights from the Dollar Tree, but first I had to get it actually into the lantern. So to do this, the little area where the batteries would have gone in, I made a hole, and there already was one there, I just made it a little bigger with a flathead. Then I put some painter's tape on this candle so that the plastic wouldn't crack. Tape usually will help with that. And my power drill, and I just drilled a hole right into the candle. So now we have a hole in the bottom of the candle and a hole in the side of the candle, again taking the flathead just to kind of make that hole a little bit larger. And now I'm going to begin threading the fairy lights up through the hole in the bottom of the candle and out through the hole in the side of the candle. And this was actually pretty easy to do. I put a little bit of just regular tape on the end of the fairy lights to make it a little bit more pokey and easier to get through the holes, and then that just pulled through perfectly. Then I went ahead and put the fairy lights up through I don't even know what you would call this, the base of the lantern, and just pulled the lights through. Then before I put, I think it's the actual lantern, the top of the lantern onto our faux candle, I first took those fairy lights and just wrapped them all around the candle and then put the top of the lantern on, and that way the fairy lights kind of sprang up inside of our lantern, which we'll see in just a second. And this is one of those things you just kind of have to play around with. If you wanted it more tightly wound around the candle, you could add tape or glue. I just kind of pushed them all inside the lantern and liked the look that it gave. These fairy lights have a little bit more structure to them, a little bit of wire, so they do hold their shape pretty well. And then once I had the lights how I liked them, it was time to actually screw our lantern back together. So I just took, of course, the screws that it originally came with and screwed those back into place. I'm really happy that I was able to make over this broken lantern into something that I love and cannot wait to display. I think I'm going to end up putting it on my spring porch. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.